All right, everybody, I'm going to need you to do me a favor real quick. Drop a like on this video, please, because I'm powering through jet lag from a 5-hour flight, dead legs from a week of walking, and other stuff. Let's just call it other stuff. I'm very, 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 very tired. I just got off the plane, ate a full pizza because I hadn't eaten anything all day. I had 3 hours of sleep the day before. I would very much appreciate it if you could drop a like on this video because I am powering through this mostly because King of the Fourth Quarter, Kenny Beecham on Twitter, fucking bullied me for it. I tweeted that I wasn't going to put out a video because I was tired, and he goes, "Man, you're not about that bag," or some shit like that. So I was like, all right, well, fuck you then, Kenny. I'm going to make a video. Not actually. Kenny's a cool dude, but I was like, ugh, fine, I'll make a video. So you can thank King of the Fourth Quarter for this video even coming out. I'm not going to be doing a video on the other free agents because literally I feel like I'm about to pass out. So if this video kind of sucks as a result of me doing that, or of me feeling this way, then you can also blame Kenny for that just as much as you can thank him. Anyways, obviously Lonzo Ball has signed with the Chicago Bulls, and that is a pretty big fucking deal. It was the first deal that was announced on Twitter from Shams, who, by the way, has been kicking Woj's ass today. That obviously there's things like the Kyle Lowry move that just happened. Jarrett Allen got a big extension, but I don't really have much to say about that right now. I mean, I will have things to say about it. My brain is just scrambled. So I'm going to talk about the Chicago Bulls and Lonzo Ball because I have been wanting this move to happen for a long ass time. The summer that Lonzo was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, before that happened, the Bulls had landed the number 7 pick in the draft, which was then used to select Wendell Carter Jr. And when that happened, I was like, we should trade the 7 pick. We should trade that pick in exchange for Lonzo Ball. And the Lakers could then use that pick in a trade for Anthony Davis. That was my line of thinking at the time. I was like, I don't really like any of the prospects at 7 because I was assuming that Michael Porter Jr. would be off of the table by then, which ironically he then would go on to be way further down. I hope I'm getting this timeline right because I'm just thinking back. I could be like off by a year or something, but I'm like 90% sure this is what happened. And I made a video basically campaigning for the Bulls should trade that pick for Lonzo Ball, and got a lot of pushback from that one from Bulls fans. And it was just interesting to me over the last 2 years now, watching Lonzo to the Bulls become more and more of a popular thing within the fan base, where initially my suggestion of it led to a vitriol attack on in my direction because I suggested that a player that a lot of people hate because of his father go to the Bulls, to now their Bulls fans are fucking ecstatic that he's on the team, which, hey, I'm not going to be petty about it, but I was on this train before you, and I was right. So I'm being petty about it. That's what I'm doing right now. Lonzo Ball, I wanted to be a bull at the time specifically because of the playmaking, the defense, and his three-point shooting was starting to come along. It didn't really officially come along until he joined the Pelicans, but especially now, I want it even more now that I know that the playmaking has come, or the three-point shooting has come along to the point where Lonzo has been an elite three-point shooter for the last 2 years. Now, he's an inconsistent one, but in general, on average, he is an elite three-point shooter. I believe he's at like 38% on 7+ attempts per game over the last 2 years. I think he shot like 6.5 of them the year previous to this one. So yeah, he's a very good three-point shooter. He's a very good defender, and he's a very good playmaker. Now, I will mention just right out of the gate, because this is an important thing to make note of, he's not the best half-court playmaker because of his lack of slashing ability, his lack of rim pressure. So for that reason, Lonzo will not be completely overhauling the playmaking issues with the Bulls. He's not going to be a ball-dominant player who's just dropping 15 dimes a game. But regardless of that little bit of a flaw that is under-mentioned with him, because people act like he is Jason Kidd or Magic Johnson as a playmaker when he's not, just because of that half-court limitation. Lonzo Ball, 10-plus assist games since being drafted, 40. All Bulls players combined since Lonzo has been drafted, 27. 10 assist plus games. So Lonzo has 13 double-digit assist games on the entirety of the Bulls in the last 3, or is it 4 years? Yeah, it's 4 years now because he just signed a contract. So in the last 4 seasons, he's had 13 more than the entirety of the Bulls roster. So that is an encouraging sign, I would say, in terms of his playmaking ability. On the Pelicans end of things, this is really bad. Like, are we going to not make note of the fact that it's really bad? Because initially we're like, okay, there were rumors of a, what's his fucking name? Devontae Graham sign and trade, a Lauri Markkanen sign and trade, and then eventually a 3-team sign and trade where Lauri Markkanen would go to the Hornets, Devontae Graham would go to the Pelicans, and Lonzo would go to the Bulls. Instead, the Pelicans got Tomas Satoransky, Garrett Temple, and a second-round pick. This is especially bad knowing the fact that the Bulls were initially working, trying to do a trade at the trade deadline, and it is believed that there was more draft assets in that move than what ends up being in this, because obviously, I got a text in the middle of this and it completely threw me off. Fuck you, Noah. I'm recording. Don't text me right now. He has no way of knowing, but still. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. To get Satoransky, Garrett Temple, and you could have gotten a lot more previous. You would have just made the trade originally, and then you made it clear you weren't going to keep him around after. Like, the Pelicans really dropped the ball, which is accidentally a pun. They dropped the ball with Lonzo Ball, and the fact that Kyle Lowry is going to the Heat, which I'll talk about in a video when I wake up tomorrow. The fact that, there's not really another point guard. Mike Conley was never going to happen. Chris Paul just got a crazy extension from the Suns, working on no sleep, jet lag, and physically aching. So give me a break here. So they're kind of striking out on point guard. The last thing they're going to is Devontae Graham, which Devontae is pretty good, but like I'd say Lonzo's better, and I'd say more reliable. I just don't love that direction, and even then, I don't even know that a Devontae Graham thing is really going to happen when you just put on the contracts of Satoransky and Temple, which is about $15 million. So yeah, that's questionable. The Bulls paid Lonzo about $21 million a year, which I'm seeing some people call an overpay, but it's kind of like an arbitrary thing where, like, sure, Lonzo's probably worth like $17 million a year, 16 maybe. Am I freaking out about $4 or maybe $5 max million more on the cap sheet than is probably what his value is? No, I really don't think that's worth, like, it's not crying over fucking spilled milk. Like, it's not a big deal, and I wouldn't freak out about that. I think some people are over-exaggerating in that regard. But yeah, Lonzo to the Bulls is fantastic. I know I don't seem excited right now. I'm very excited, but I'm also very, very tired. So, yeah, I do want to mention real quick, there is some Bulls DeMar DeRozan sign and trade rumors, which if it happens, I'll make a video on it. But basically, there has been some interest from the Bulls and with DeMar. There's been a lot of interest with Lauri Markkanen and the Spurs. And with the Heat bringing in Lowry and not really having cap space anymore outside of a $9.5 million mid-level, which I doubt DeMar would take, but I guess it's not entirely off the table. That's not there. Lakers not there probably. Almost, actually, pretty much certainly with the Russell Westbrook trade. So really his options left would be return to the Spurs, which I'm almost certain is not happening. The Clippers, and then it's kind of like I think the Celtics have been mentioned here or there, and then the Bulls. Maybe the Mavericks, but like it hasn't really been mentioned much. Like there's not the Heat and the Lakers were the big two rumors around DeMar, and right now those are kind of out. So DeMar could potentially end up a Bull, and how that would work is the Spurs would give him a sign and trade, let's say like $25 million a year, and the Bulls would move Aminu and a sign and trade with not Kyle Lowry, Lauri Markkanen, who would get like $15-ish million a year. So the Bulls' new starting lineup would then be Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic, with an interesting bench lineup going forward. I think that will hopefully be addressed because I really don't want Kobe White on this team anymore. Hopefully Daniel Tice is back. Thaddeus Young would be kind of a problem with DeMar DeRozan because as much as you can try and run the rotation so they're not overlapping too much, you're still going to have like 15 minutes a game minimum of those two playing together. And that is kind of problematic because those two are complete non-shooters, and you kind of want to not have two non-shooters on the floor. Really, you don't want to have one non-shooter, but at least not two. So Thad Young probably on the move if a DeRozan thing happens. Maybe he's even in the sign and trade just because he's more useful than Al-Farouq Aminu. I would obviously love to move Aminu instead because that would mean that we can move Thad Young for something that's actually valuable. Well, obviously DeRozan's actually valuable, but I mean, if I get to choose which one of them to leave on the team after a DeRozan sign and trade, it's the one that actually has trade value after the fact, so we can get something on top of that. But yeah, this is very interesting. A DeMar situation would be interesting, especially because I'd say in the half-court set, DeMar would probably be a better guy to have the ball in his hands than Lonzo, just because he's better at attacking the basket, has the mid-range game, obviously, and Lonzo can do some more spot-up shooting stuff. Zach LaVine, I do think, like, having DeMar in there on top of Lonzo would kind of maybe be like, I feel like Zach LaVine should have the ball, like, 20% more than he does when you have. I imagine that might be the case with that roster construction. I'd also be worried about what that would mean for Patrick Williams' development because DeMar is going to take like 16 shots a game, and that's going to influence the development of Patrick Williams. Lonzo's really not going to be taking a detrimental amount of shots, I don't think, so it's not really going to overlap too significantly. But DeMar DeRozan will, and I'm just curious how that'll affect Patrick. Now, in a win-now thing, obviously you care more about the DeMar, what he would bring to you now, but I also care about Patrick's development, and I feel like it's possible to improve this team without hindering that at the same time. So I think Patrick would benefit a decent bit from Lonzo, especially on the fast break. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Lonzo Bulls thing. I'm probably going to make a video on the Bulls after the offseason because I feel like they have some other stuff to do. Obviously, I haven't been able to talk about it. The Ayo Dosunmu, I think that's how you say it, but I'm only like 10% sure actually. But it seems like he's going to be a good pick, so that's interesting. On top of the fact that he's a guard, probably makes Kobe White even further expendable, which I'm perfectly okay with. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this move. I'm very happy, even though I sound dead because I kind of am. I'll be really happy in the morning, I promise. I'll do more videos covering other free agency topics tomorrow. When I wake up, I just don't have anything left in me. So, bye.